Good morning, brothers and sisters. How we doing? We got a lot of energy in this room. All right, let's crank it up. I know you were probably out a little late last night, but you got some work to do today. But first of all, you know, we're going to start this day off with more than just a lot of excitement. I'm going to welcome all of you to the second day of our legislative conference. And here's a short story about our next special guest and the great leader who will appear after her. Because a good man never gives up on something he believes in, he had to ask 5 times before she agreed to marry him. But his persistence paid off, and she finally said yes. And now, 42 years of marriage, this couple has built the strongest of bonds, powerful enough to guide them to the pinnacle of American politics, from the U.S. Senate to the Vice Presidency of the United States. By trade, she's an educator, so it makes sense that she didn't quit her career as a professor even in 2008 when her husband made a run for the White House. And she didn't quit when Barack Obama came calling for her husband to join his campaign. She knew she could and should play both roles, take on the demanding role of a second lady and to maintain and nurture her career and commitment to education. Throughout those years, while on the trail campaigning with her husband and in Washington, D.C., she continued to teach English and reading as an adjunct professor at the Northern Virginia Community College. And while she's enjoyed a remarkable career as an educator, she used her position as second lady to extend into new ventures, taking great interest in the well-being of our nation's military families. In 2011, along with First Lady Michelle Obama, she joined Joining Forces, a nationwide initiative calling all Americans to rally around service members, veterans, and their families. She lent her passion and expertise to U.S. aid, pushing for greater awareness of deadly famine, drought, and effect of war on the people of the Horn of Africa. She also took time to write a children's book titled, Don't Forget, God Bless Our Troops, based on her son Bo's deployment. And now with the Biden Foundation, she continues to serve our great nation. Sisters and brothers, please join me in welcoming to our stage a dedicated public servant, a devoted educator, and a great woman whose story inspires us all, Dr. Jill Biden.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, please. Really. Please, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you, General President Schaeberger. Harold, thank you for inviting us to be here today, and thank you for your friendship. You know, a true friend doesn't just support you. They make you want to be a better version of yourself. And you, Harold, are that kind of friend, someone we truly admire, someone with passion and drive for the people you serve, with a heart for the firefighters of America and their families. You are a leader who never stops fighting for what's right, and you inspire us. So thank you for all that you do for this union, for your friendship over the years, and for all that we will continue to do together. Thank you. On a Sunday morning in 2004, I heard a shocking boom. Joe had left early because he was going to be on Meet the Press, and I was home alone with our cat Daisy. And there was a storm that morning, so I thought that a tree nearby must have been hit and, must have been hit by lightning and had fallen on our property. But when I went downstairs to investigate, I knew something was wrong. I couldn't see fire, but smoke was pouring out of our heating vents. I tried to call 911, but the phone was dead. I knew I had to get out of the house, but I kept trying to find the cat. It was pandemonium, and I couldn't think straight. Minutes later, I was standing in my driveway in my bathrobe. The rain was just pouring down, and the house was so dark inside, and the smoke you couldn't see. And a team of firefighters rushed into our home, and then they came back out because the smoke was so thick they needed to put on their headlights to get through to see anything. Okay, I guess they're not called headlights. I'll find out what they're called later. Anyway, the ladies' auxiliary arrived, and I was standing there in complete shock. I'm sure you've seen this just thousands of times. You know, the victims of the family, when they see, you know, their house, just all the smoke coming out of the chimney and the windows. And one of the ladies from the ladies' auxiliary took off her yellow slicker and put it around my shoulders in the rain. And, you know, such kindness is always remembered. And that's when I heard a voice shout, "Mrs. Biden!" I was filled with dread because I was wondering, oh my gosh, what else is wrong? But instead, I heard, "It's me, Harry. Do you remember me from Del Tech?" Well, of course I did. At that time, I was teaching writing at Delaware Technical and Community College. Harry was just one of those students that teachers just love, not because he was the best student, though his grades were fine, but because they changed the tenor of the whole class. He was sweet and caring, and he could always make us laugh. Harry's dream was to be a firefighter, but he knew it would be tough to pass the test and meet the demanding requirements. Over the years, I've taught a number of students who went on to be firefighters, and one of the things that always struck me is the drive that I see in them. This is so much more than a job. It's a vocation, a calling. You all start your career as an elite group, people who have worked so hard to train your minds and bodies just so you can put that uniform on. And then the real challenges begin. The long hours away from your families, the calls in the middle of the night, the demanding practice drills that keep you sharp, the high safety standards you must understand and sophisticated equipment you maintain. The community engagement, speaking with schools, helping families protect their homes, supporting your neighborhoods, responding to emergencies of all kinds, and being ready to step in and save a life. And that includes the groups like the Ladies Auxiliary, which was so kind to me in my moment of need. And of course, you face down one of the most dangerous and destructive forces of nature that exists. I will forever remember our trip to Flagstaff, Arizona in 2013 to stand with the 19 families of the Granite Mountain Hot Shots crew who made the ultimate sacrifice. You all pull us from the grips of death. You put your lives on the line. So I want to say, you don't do this alone. Your parents, your wives and husbands, your kids, your families serve in their own way, comforting and loving you and cheering you on. They are with you on those long nights, the terrifying calls, praying that you come home safely. And I want to thank them for that. Too often, I think we recognize the incredible bravery and sacrifice of this community only after tragedy strikes. So I'm grateful to be here today to say thank you. Because you aren't just firefighters. You are community builders. You are healers and counselors and protectors. You are public servants in the truest sense, with duty, integrity, and courage. You stand between us and destruction. You hold back death. So for your service, for your sacrifice, for your incredible courage, thank you.
Jill, thank you. It was wonderful remarks, and you have been such a wonderful friend and supporter. And we all simply love you. Thank you. Now, before all of you travel over to the Hill and engage our political leaders on the issues that matter to our members and build relationships with lawmakers who hold so much of the destiny of our members' lives in their hands, it's only right that we welcome a true longtime friend, a supporter who's here with us this morning. Because for the 43 years that I've had the privilege to work for our union on its behalf, so has this loyal friend, this longtime ally of 43 years, supported our great union and all of you. He's always stood on the front line with us throughout his Senate career, through 2 terms as Vice President of the United States, and as a private citizen, always fighting to improve public safety and making sure our homeland and communities are safe and that our members have what they need to get the tough job done. He was one of our strongest advocates and the go-to guy in the Obama administration on issues affecting our members, and played a lead role on nearly every piece of legislation introduced and passed that has impacted the fire service for over 4 decades. He made it his business to ensure we had enough firefighters to respond on the rigs and that our departments had the resources they needed by helping launch the SAFER and FIRE Act programs. He's always understood the personal devastation that losing a firefighter in the line of duty brings to a family. And that's why he championed the Public Safety Officers Benefit Act, providing financial support to the families of our fallen. And like you, he believes in public service. Like you, he's not in it for the money, but always standing with workers, working families, protecting the middle class, and has always stood with this IAFF to make sure firefighters are paid a fair day's wage for a fair day's work. He fought for your right to receive hard-earned overtime compensation with the extension of the Fair Labor Standards Act, and he fought to make sure firefighters have a stable retirement after a dangerous and demanding career. As our members went toe-to-toe with devastating wildfires last summer, he once again stepped up, helping our IAFF Foundation raise funds for our members who lost their homes while they were still on duty on the front lines protecting their communities. And I'll probably get in trouble for this, but he very privately, wanting no fanfare or recognition, personally donated $25,000 to our disaster relief efforts to go to our members' families. He's always believed firefighters have earned the right to have a voice, and that voice to be heard in important matters of public safety. And while too many lawmakers sat on their hands, this incredible friend co-sponsored legislation to establish collective bargaining rights for all firefighters. He has always appreciated how all of you are the glue that keeps our communities, neighborhoods, and this great nation strong and safe. He gets us, and he gets what you do, not just on a policy level, but on a personal level. Simply put, he has always been there, not just for us, not just in the wake of major disasters, not just when it was politically convenient, and not for photo ops, but always there to support this country and the best it has to offer. He understands what it takes to protect our neighborhoods because he's from the neighborhood. He really is a working Joe. And we truly appreciate the respect he has shown, not just to our profession, but to every worker in this great nation of ours. So please turn your attention to the video screen to help us welcome the former senator from Delaware, the former vice president of the United States, our friend Joe Biden. To the screens.
Middle-class American folks have never let the country down. You have been the centerpiece of everything I've done. I rise today to introduce the Francis Colliner Public Safety Officers Benefit Improvement Act. I make no apology for a lifetime spent fighting for your right to collectively bargain. Unions built the middle class in this country. The reason there is a middle class is because of unions.
Build labor, we build America. Build labor, we build the middle class.
In my neighborhood, there's two things that are valued above all else. One is loyalty, and the other is courage. It's not merely about changing the law and making it better. It's about changing our culture. As Martin Luther King reminded us, the actions of bad people are not our only problem. We also answer the appalling silence and indifference of the good people.
You don't need a photo op to tell the world where you stand. You show it by your actions. You show it by your deeds.
This is about kinship of character and commitment to country. When it came time to picking a team, you're the guy I wanted on my team. This is where I stand, and where I stand is with you.
Thank you. You know, I've been around a long time, but I promise you I did not know Adlai Stevenson, but he said something very profound once. He said, flattery is fine as long as you don't inhale. My name's Joe Biden. I'm Jill Biden's husband. I look out here, it looks like my old neighborhood. We're ready to take anybody on. You know, you measure the honors you received, at least I do, based on the respect you have for the person affording the honor. And there is really, literally no group of men and women I'd rather stand with than all of you. I kid when I say when we moved to Delaware, we moved to Claymont, Delaware, a little steel town. And the centerpiece of the town, like almost every little town in my state, is not figuratively, but literally the fire station. And the fire station was directly across the street from Holy Rosary Grade School that I went to. And every kid I knew, well, put it another way, in my neighborhood, you grew up either to be a firefighter, a cop, a tradesman, or a priest, and I wasn't qualified for any of them. So I passed. But, you know, it sounds silly, but maybe it's the same way with you guys and women. Everything I admired came out of that fire hall. Everything good. Everything that, that was needed in the neighborhood, everything that was needed in the community, there was always a firefighter there. Not necessarily on a truck, but just there. You knew who to call when you needed help, even as a kid. So Harold, thanks for inviting me today, and thank you for your friendship. It's been real, it's been deep, and it's been a long time. I didn't have to ask Harold 5 times. By the way, you all think I'm kidding. I had to ask her 5 times. The 5th time I was in Africa trying to go to see Nelson Mandela and Robben's Island in South Africa. I was a young senator. And I came home after the trip, and I went from the airport, knocked on Jill's door. Said, "Oh, Joe, come on in." I said, "No, no." I said, "You've got my Irish up now." I said, "Here's the deal," and I meant it. I said, "My pride's engaged." I said, "I'm going to ask you one more time. One more time. My word is abiding, true story. One more time. Not when, but if you will marry me." I looked at her and said, "Will you marry me?" And she went like this. Real enthusiastic. My sister later asked her, their best friends asked her, "What made you change your mind?" She said, "I fell in love with the boys." I had 2 sons. So, you know, I keep working at it. She put a sign, when Jill wants me to get a message, maybe you guys have the same thing, or you women, she puts up she pastes little notes on the mirror where I shave. And she found this saying somewhere. It says, "Stop trying to make me love you." She put it up 2 weeks ago. Well, Harold, a true friend doesn't support you. That's not enough. They make you want to be a better version of yourself. And, you know, Harold, you've been that kind of friend to me. Someone Jill and I admire, and someone with the passion and drive that for the people you serve. You know, what a heart for the firefighters and their families. You're leaders who never stop fighting for what's right, and you inspire us. And so thank you for all you do. You know, I'd like you all to, I appreciate the energy you showed when I got up here. Save it a little longer. I may need it in a few weeks. Be careful what you wish for. Be careful what you wish for. You know, my grandfather, Finney, used to say, Joey, you're labor from belt buckle to shoe sole. That's how I was raised. And there's no labor leader who's done a better job for the men and women they represent than you have, Harold. You know, you bleed for your people. Every firefighter injured, every firefighter lost, every firefighter struggling for their health care. This guy feels it, as does the rest of your leadership. And frankly, that's the kind of leader you need and you deserve because you know, being a firefighter, as Jill pointed out, it's not just your job, it's not just your profession, it's a brotherhood, it's a sisterhood. You know, the expression in the military is the same you have, leave nobody behind. That's because you do what no one else would do. You run toward danger. You run into burning buildings and raging forest fires. You put your lives on the line every day for strangers, people you don't know, and maybe even some people you don't like if you knew them. At least I feel that way sometimes. And when your work is done, you always say the exact same thing. I've been to 50 fire scenes while the fire is going on in my hometown. And you always say the same thing. Just doing my job, Joe. Just doing my job. Well, you've been with me a long time. Quite frankly, I wouldn't be here, wouldn't be in this room. I got elected to the United States Senate as a 29-year-old kid in 1972 because of your support. And that's not hyperbole, it's just a simple fact. You see, when I was a 29-year-old kid, there were 3 parties in Delaware. And this is what we always say of anyone from Delaware here. They'd say they're Democrats, Republicans, and firefighters. Not a joke, not a joke. And if you were smart, you went with the firefighters. I did. I went with the firefighters, but politics is the least of what you've done for me. My fire service saved the lives of my 2 sons. I'm going to repeat myself, but we feel so deeply indebted. In December of '72, when my wife was bringing home a Christmas tree, a tractor trailer was broadsided, killed my wife, killed my daughter. It took about an hour and a half, I'm told, for the jaws of life for my fire company to save my boys, who in all likelihood, I'm told, would have died as well, severely injured. You saved my life in the middle of a blizzard, literally a blizzard. President Reagan offered to send a helicopter to get me to a neurosurgeon at Walter Reed because I had 2 cranial aneurysms, one was bleeding. And they gave me a 30% chance of living, but my fire service and an ambulance got me down to Washington in the middle of a snowstorm into Walter Reed. And a 12-hour operation saved my life. I'll never forget the guys from the fire service, 2 young guys were trying to get the gurney in and it wouldn't collapse, you know, and they were having trouble. And Jill, to calm them down, looked at me and said, Joe, you ruin everything. It's Valentine's Day. And I looked and put it in. As Jill told you, saved her home. Believe me, I know better than most just how true the old saying is. All men and women are created equal. Then a few become firefighters. So Jill and I owe you. Your neighbors owe you. The American people owe you more than they have any idea how much they owe you until they need you. That's why, as Vice President, as Harold pointed out, I was so proud in the middle of the Great Recession to put real money in the Recovery Act, keeping your fire stations open and countless firefighters on the job. That's why I've been so proud to support and be a defender of the Safers Grant. And we owe, he's not here, but we owe Senator Dodd a debt of gratitude for what he did. He's the guy. But I sure don't have to tell anyone in this room what it's meant to you. You know, what people don't realize is on a per capita basis, more of your women and men are injured and die than law enforcement officers do on a per capita basis. The thing you need most is more firefighters to have your back. What I don't get is why we still have to keep fighting for this funding. They're critical to your safety and the safety of local communities all across America without exception. Maybe because, as I said, I'm a union guy. Labor labor makes a gigantic difference. But I don't see any reason why you should be denied the right to collective bargaining. Who the hell are these guys? Really, think about it. Think about how basic it is. Why are we even having this argument? I just don't get it. You should have the same rights of everyone else. You've earned it. And I certainly know from personal experience you've earned it. It reminds me of the fight we had back in '86 over overtime pay for firefighters. Isn't it amazing how these guys who call themselves public servants, the guys creating all the jobs for shareholders and all, I don't want to get into that, but, you know, I don't think it was very complicated. You deserve to be paid overtime for the hours you work like everybody else, although they're trying to deny overtime for everybody else by reclassifying them as managers. So you work in a grocery store and you're stacking the Ragu spaghetti and you control the guy or the woman who brings out the cart, you're a manager. No, not a joke. And so you don't get paid overtime. Denied about $10 billion a year. Hourly workers are denied. It took the Supreme Court decision to get it done for you guys. And we keep asking. They keep asking. We keep asking. More and more of you. To deal with fires made more intense and dangerous by climate change. How many of you are a little bit older who thought you'd have to learn how to deal with terrorist weapons and gases and weapons of mass destruction, for God's sake? You do it all, everything. And just look at California. 2018 was the most destructive wildfire season ever. And you deal with gun violence. Instead of giving you what you need, especially more firefighters, we make you fight for everything you get. I just don't get it. I really don't. This is one of the areas I don't get. Maybe it's because I've known so many of you from the ranks who've been willing to make the ultimate sacrifice that I'll never understand people who fight you on the basics, like safety, fair play, health care. My God. I was going to stay away from this, but I can't. Did you see the budget was just introduced? It cuts $845 billion, almost $1 trillion cut in Medicare, and almost $250 billion, $240 billion cut in Medicaid. Why? Because of a tax cut for the super wealthy that created a deficit of $1.9 trillion, and now they got to go make somebody pay for it. Something that gave millionaires and billionaires excessive tax breaks. And who are they asking to pay for it? Middle-class families like you, the neighborhood I grew up in. Trading Medicare and Medicaid for tax breaks? How that's going to help anybody in this room, or most of the people you live with? How's that going to help this country? Harold, you and I have been to too many funerals and memorial services together. I was thinking about it as Jill and I were talking last night coming back in the plane. I had the great honor of being a speaker at the Granite Mountain Hot Shots in Arizona in 2013. 19 firefighters who lost their lives, living by the motto, not hyperbole, living by the motto, duty, integrity, respect. You guys use those words, but I don't know that you fully appreciate just how much you embody that. Not a joke. Not a joke. You know, I'm thinking about how honored I was to be asked to speak at the 34th Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service in 15 in Maryland, where we remember 85 firefighters who had given their lives in service to us all. And closer to home, not long ago, I was thinking about people Jerry Ficus, Christopher Leach, Neitha Hope. They all lost their lives in the line of duty in an apartment complex about 2 miles from my house. I was there, went down on the scene. I was proud to participate in the service to celebrate their lives and recognize their sacrifices in 16. Meet their kids, their families. They're left with a legacy of honor, without a father, without a mother. It took some comfort knowing that the public safety benefit program that Harold talked about is going to be there for them. We put together scholarship funds for their kids, and like you always do, trying to make sure we don't leave anybody behind, including their kids. Their children will be now part of a fraternity and a sorority that will be with them the rest of their lives. Some comfort, but not enough. And still on your list of priorities, the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund. Why are the hell we arguing about that still? Why is that even being argued? It must be permanently funded, period. Permanently funded, period. Permanently funded. Why is it even a debate? Folks, this is America. I really mean it. We have basic moral obligations as Americans. There's no doubt of the damage caused to these firefighters. You know, I visited the site a few days after the attack, and I stood there and turned the corner. I looked as I felt as though I was looking through the gates of hell. But an image I came away with, the image I had in my mind's eye, was that same image that all Americans had of that grizzled firefighter literally rising out of the dust, grit and determination written on his face. That single image, when America needed images, lifted us off our knees, filled us with hope, inspired us and reminded us of who we are. It sent a signal to the world: you can knock us down, but you can never beat us. Never, never, never beat us. Think about it. You know, shortly after that, I visited in Afghanistan, a temporary prison camp, when American troops went in to take on the Taliban. You know what was hanging over this large hangar that had been converted into a temporary restraining place? It wasn't a picture of a general or a military. It was that fireman. That fireman. Our military. About an 8x10 big photograph. The resilience on his face said it all. There is no quit in America. There never has been, and there never will be, because of you. And I really think, as usual, you guys underestimate the impact you have on the community, and at that moment on our nation and on the world. I think about that time after 9/11 a lot these days. We were so united. Today, we seem to be at each other's throats. The ugliest extremism is on the rise in this country. We saw it most vividly in Charlottesville. Mean pettiness has overtaken our politics. Sometimes it seems like we can't govern ourselves or even talk to one another. If you notice, I get criticized for saying anything nice about a Republican. Folks, this is not who we are. That's not how we got here. We have to remember what it is that makes this nation so special. It's our core values. It's what we believe. It sounds corny, but it's the American creed. I mean, for real. We hold these truths self-evident. that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. We've never met the standard, but we've never walked away from it. We've never backed off. It sounds corny, but that's who Americans are. And I believe, I really mean it. That's who we are. I believe there's what the columnist David Brooks calls an invisible moral fabric that holds this nation up, holds us together. And it's pretty basic. It's made up of the values that define us best as Americans. Not a joke. Honesty, decency, treating people with dignity and respect, giving everyone a fair shot, leaving nobody behind, demonizing no one, not the poor, not the desperate, not the immigrant, not the other, protecting our right to speak and practice any faith that we hold without fear of reprisal, leading by the power of our example, not just the example of our power, and standing as a beacon to the world. That's why the rest of the world repairs to us. It's the example of our power, not alone. It's the power of our example. And maybe what no group understands better than you guys, understanding that we're part of something bigger than ourselves. There's something bigger than us we're part of. You live it. That's who we are. We know that. And you know that. We got to remind the country of it. You're part of the very fabric of your community. You're the folks who take off your gear after a long shift, jump into your car and head to the Little League field to line it because you promised that you would do it. You're the men and women who take the trucks out of the fire hall, set up the tables for potluck dinners, raise money for the person whose house you couldn't save and lost all their clothing to give them help. You're the people who show up at your church for the bake sale because part of the roof collapsed in a snowstorm. You're the ones who stand in the corner of every American city with those boots after you've already done your shift, collecting money to help those with neuromuscular diseases. You not only have courage and stamina, you have really big and generous hearts. You don't like admitting it because somehow it's not that masculine or something. But you're all suckers. Think about it, guys. Think about it. How many people can you walk by who need help? It is not hyperbole to suggest you are the heart and the soul, the sinew and the backbone of this country. And you're the reason that I have so much confidence in our country's future as tough as times look right now. Because when I look around this room, I see the people who built this nation. The country wasn't built by Wall Street bankers and CEOs and hedge fund managers. They're not necessarily bad. They didn't build this country. It was built by the great American middle class, and unions built the middle class. It was built by people like you who you knew as my dad knew. The job is about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about dignity. It's about respect. It's about your place in the community. It's being able to look your kid in the eye and say, honey, it's going to be okay. And mean it. That's the American story. The story of ordinary people from neighborhoods that you and I grew up in, doing extraordinary things. That's how we built the greatest nation in the history of the world. The reason for it is because we become the most powerful nation because we have the most powerful idea in the history of the world. And that idea beats in the heart of the people of this country. You know, we can't be defined. We're not able to be defined.
by race, by religion, by tribe. We're defined by those enduring principles that are in the Constitution, even though we don't necessarily all know them. That's what defines us. That in America, everybody gets a shot. That's what the next president of the United States needs to understand, and that's what I don't think this current president understands at all. Unless you think I'm kidding, try to define an American based on race. Try to define one based on religion, on ethnicity. No other democracy in the world is like ours. There's uniting features of being Brit or French or German or Chinese or Japanese, but not in America. We can only define an American by their commitment to those self-evident truths stated in the Constitution. That's why they say it's not hyperbole. America was an idea. It is an idea. It's an idea that goes back to our founding. An idea that we spent over 200 years trying to live up to. An idea that generation after generation has opened its arms just a little bit wider to include those who are being excluded. It's what keeps pushing us towards justice, toward the more perfect union. We're not there, we're not likely to get there, but we've always kept pushing for it. My dad used to say, Joey, everybody in the world, everybody in America deserves to be treated with dignity. Not a joke, everybody. My father would no more walk by the shoe shine guy in the Hotel DuPont than he'd walk by the chairman of the board of the Hotel DuPont. It's been over 2 centuries, and it's still our North Star today. If we remember that in the 21st century, the 21st century will be an American century. Folks, look, when I was got elected as a 29-year-old kid because of, and I won by 3,100 votes, so I'm not joking about the fire service. Despite, I was referred to as a young idealist. I was an optimist. Well, despite all of our problems today, I mean this sincerely, I'm more optimistic about our nation's future than I was when I was that 29-year-old kid. Think about it. We have the largest economy in the history of the world. We're the richest nation in the world. We have the strongest military in all of world history. We're the most innovative entrepreneurs in the world, the most agile venture capitalists. We are virtually energy independent, something that was beyond our possibilities a few years ago and does not apply to China and so many other nations. And the fact is, we have the most productive workers in the world, 3 times as productive as workers in Asia. And we have more great research universities in the United States of America than all the rest of the world combined. And if you doubt me, as my wife, the professor, would say, Google it. There's no reason why we can't own the 21st century. And the rest of the world needs us to lead. Who fills the vacuum if we continue to walk away and walk off the world stage? We've just got to get out of our own way and remember who the hell we are. This is the United States of America. There is nothing we are unable to do. Nothing we've ever tried have we failed at. This is America, so it's time to get up. Remember who the hell we are. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops and our firefighters. Thank you. Hey guys, every time I'd walk out of my grandpa Finnegan's home in Scranton, he'd yell, Joey, keep the faith. And my grandmother yelled, no, Joey, spread it. Go spread the faith.